Blessed be all my people out there. In this video, we are going to be talking about empaths and what does that term empath mean when we are talking about the world of the magical, mystical, spiritual, and paranormal. And how does being an empath relate to being psychic, and how does it not? And we're also going to be disambiguating the term empath from, say, terms like empathy and even sympathy, because this is one of those topics that I've been asked to talk about quite a bit, but it can be a little bit difficult to know where to start, especially when you're talking about, say, an empath versus empathy versus sympathy, because those words have been kind of strung up and used in all kinds of different ways to the point where, it's almost like I don't know what a person means when they're saying it versus another person. If Charlie says empath, but then Mary says empath, and then Tim says empath, and then Cindy says empath, they might have four completely different definitions. And so we're going to kind of break it down from the, again, discussion of the more mystical, magical, and paranormal, because that's what I am all about. And I think it would also be very good for people to know a bit more of what this term means in the old school way. So in short, an empath is a person that is basically somebody who has their extrasensory perception turned up very high naturally, as just a part of the circumstances of their life, right? Their energy, their soul, their spirit, their aura, to the point where they are actually able to and constantly receiving all kinds of different extrasensory sensations, communications, messages, and experiences on an energetic and spiritual level without any kind of manual engagement. It's something that they are not turning on. It is something that they are feeling as kind of just being a part of the environment. Essentially somebody that is picking up on and reading and experiencing emotions as part of their extrasensory superpower. The reason I keep saying extrasensory is because we all have extrasensory gifts. We all have extrasensory perception, right? It's kind of like how intuition is sort of like the baseline of any kind of spiritual gift, and then everything kind of builds on top. You can look at intuition and empathy as kind of being on the same level, and then all of the deeper spiritual skills and abilities kind of pile on top of that. When an empath is engaged, what is happening is that not only are they maybe picking up on or reading or engaging in a communication with an emotional stimulus or an energy form or a spirit or another person, but they are also feeling it. It's not just about the information, right? It's about sensation. And that is the difference between a psychic and an empath, where it's kind of like a psychic might pick up on those bits of information. The psychic may pick up on a glimpse or maybe even get some kind of, introduction or walkthrough of what they are experiencing, or they may get visual cues or audio cues and things like that. An empath is picking up more on, either emotional exchanges or sensations or things that are especially going to be more clued into the body or the feeling state. Now, of course, a person who is an empath could absolutely be psychic, just like a lot of people who are psychic are also empaths. And so you see a lot of crossover with that as well. When it comes to the discussion of empathy, I really want you to understand that if you are coming at this looking to gain from the spiritual perspective, from the mystical, the paranormal, and magical perspective, that you allow empathy to be kind of its own category over here and the term empath over here. Because these are terms that, while they may have the same root, they often do discuss very different experiences. And to that extent, also, we might as well discuss the difference between sympathy and empathy while we're at it. Empathy itself is the capacity that a person has to be able to feel what another person is feeling, right? What another person is emoting or what they're going through, what their experience is. And this may be because the person who's feeling it is an empath, or it may just be that this is an open human being, somebody who is capable of empathy. Sympathy is where you can connect with what a person is experiencing. You are still sharing in that moment. You are still connecting on that emotional and interpersonal level. But it has more to do with you relating it to something that you can relate to. So empathy is the ability to connect with or without any kind of personal ability to relate to what you are connecting to. Sympathy requires a certain level of relatability. Say, for instance, my friend Tim has just gone through a very bad divorce or breakup. And he is just really down in the dumps. He's getting ready to make a whole lot of important moves, and he's just kind of cleaning up the debris from the ending of that situation. I would be empathizing with him if I could feel his pain and be there for him and connect with him without any kind of personal reference back to my own experience or my own life. However, I would be sympathizing with him if I was able to understand his feelings or connect to his feelings because of a referral to perhaps a breakup or a split up of my own, however recent or less recent. So that would be a good way to maybe differentiate the two, because a lot of people get those things confused. A lot of people think that they are they're empathizing with somebody when they're really sympathizing with somebody. A good example of that would be, say, like trauma bonding, which, is a term that's also very modern and very recent. A lot of people who trauma bond, they're not empathizing with each other. In fact, trauma bonding is all about sympathy. It's not about empathy. But I digress. When we are connecting and sharing, right, our spirits, our energy fields are exchanging with one another. They're exchanging energy. And so whether I am connecting with Tim through empathizing with him or sympathizing with him or both, we are connecting, right? And that would be, through that connection, I could, again, read his feelings or maybe even pick up impressions on what he's going through. It might engage my psychic senses to be able to help me help him do what's best for him in going forward and XYZ. That is a part of that experience. Being an empath would mean I might actually take on too much. One of the telltale signs of being an empath is there is no filter, there is no grounding agent, there is no stabilizing agent. It kind of like how if a person is truly psychic, they do need to learn how to master their own psychic abilities so that they are not driven insane. Well, very much an empath has to take responsibility for making sure that they know how to strengthen their own buffers so that they do not become chaotic. And I think that is just kind of, again, it's a personal challenge that can come up in life. I get a lot of information overload all the time through my readings and through my work. And, that's why it's like, all right, I have to be able to protect myself. I don't want to be overly connected to, say, my clients or to my viewers. Some of them really want me to be connected to them. They want that too much, in my opinion, and that's a sign of something being amiss over there. But I think that there is absolutely a need for any kind of empath out there to learn how to disengage, because it doesn't serve anybody to have everyone fall apart. And that can also be something I think is very confusing nowadays. I know a lot of people who are empaths who have chosen to just kind of let go of that word. They don't want to be called an empath because nowadays empath has kind of been given the treatment, say like the term free spirit has been given, right? It's used in a way where it almost it's almost used as like a coat of sweet frosting on something that could not be good or could be problematic in some way. You know, it's like how free spirit sounds better than being out of control. Well, a lot of people use the term empath when they should not. You know, an empath is not somebody who is, you know, bursting into tears at the drop of a hat. It's a psychic, extrasensory circumstance that a lot of people, most people, on some level have going on. You know, we all have the capacity for empathy, I would hope, you know, unless something's seriously amiss. But being an empath is not saying a person is going to be, you know, just completely out of bounds or incapable or incompetent when it comes to handling their emotional sensations. In fact, most empaths I know are the least likely to be up and down internet forums and posts and videos screaming about how hard it is to be an empath. They actually get overstimulated by a lot of the emotional intensity that gets flung in a lot of different places. And so it's kind of weird. It's like if you want to find an empath, they might actually be harder to find than, you know, going to the usual places where people are kind of claiming that word, where they might not necessarily know what they're really talking about in the spiritual perspective. But just some thoughts about that there, and a little bit of extra for those of you who maybe did or did not want to know. But when it comes to being an empath, if you feel like this is something that you do live with, you do need to be able to master it. And one of the best things I think that can help people who are empaths is to first learn about any energy manipulation. In fact, honestly, you know, back in the day, being an empath, you know, very much like being naturally psychic, was kind of a clue in that you could be a very skilled natural witch and natural practitioner, because, you know, again, a lot of those dense layers and veils that most people have are not present in your spirit, in your aura, right? It's going to take you a lot less time and a lot less work if you're truly an empath to be able to actually make shit happen. You know, and so I think that there might be something there, you know, for a person, especially when it comes to, like, okay, if you learn how to manipulate your energy, if you learn how to heal yourself, if you learn how to put up shields, but you have to take it on in a very disciplined way, right? It's kind of like I've been trying to say to some of my followers over on Son of Selene, you know, people who come to these arts looking for church are 100% wrong in what they're doing. They need to come to these arts treating it like a dojo, right? You're learning a practice. You're learning something that's meant to be a tool you employ. And so for those of you who are empaths, and if you are an empath, you know, it's your responsibility. It really is, to make sure that you don't. You know, just like a psychic, it's your responsibility to make sure you're not driven insane, because you could turn this into a gift or a curse. But again, the responsibility and the choice is up to you. So just kind of an off-the-cuff talk about being an empath and what that means when we are talking about it in the metaphysical context. So I hope you guys all found this helpful. I'm going to get this video up for you here. I've been really eager to put a video up on this channel for a little bit. I know I had to take a step back for a second. Usually the ends and beginnings of months are always extra busy for me, but we are past the busy period now, so I am back on schedule. So I'm going to get this up to you here tonight. You all take care. Thank you so much for dropping by, and like, share, and subscribe. You know I appreciate it.